If Apple Car is a success, it will make trillions. Elon Musk in an interview stated that he believes Apple can definitely make a compelling electric vehicle and that it is the obvious thing to do. But should we Tesla stock investors be concerned? And there is the Apple Car. We know Apple has been working on a car since about 2014. The first project was named Project Titan. If Apple makes a car, I believe it will be the sexiest, best looking car out there, and this is coming from a Tesla stock investor. One thing that Apple can do extremely well is make sexy, nice looking designs for cars. But they have been working on a car for so long and nothing has come out so far. If you think back to 2014, Apple, compared to Tesla, was a giant. Apple could have easily bought Tesla at any time they wanted, and that's perhaps one of the biggest mistakes of Apple. Transportation combined with automotive is a $10 trillion per year industry, whereas the smartphone market is just under 1 trillion. It's only so much that one company can expand in an industry where it's already dominating. So Apple needs to venture out into other industries to keep growing. And the car industry seems, according to Elon Musk, like a logical thing to do for Apple. Apple has $200 billion in cash, and developing a new vehicle certainly costs a lot of money, especially if a company wants to go into full self-driving. And Apple certainly has the resources to do it. We know Apple has been working on the Apple Car since 2014. They started with hundreds, if not a few thousand people, and they were all working from Sunnyvale, California, near their campus. But they quickly encountered multiple roadblocks, issues with designing and EV technology, autonomous technology, and eventually all of that led to layoffs. Then they brought in a former head of hardware engineering for the whole company, who actually partially retired before. Then Apple just focused on autonomous driving, which makes sense because I believe all of the money in the car industry is really in autonomous technology and full self-driving. That's why I personally believe Tesla stock will go to $10,000 per share by 2030. Now, why has Apple struggled so much already? Well, let me give you an example with Beats. Apple purchased this company, but there were major culture clashes between the Hollywood folks and the LA folks and the music folks. They all came into this data-driven environment, and it was just everyone was having a hard time. And this case, going into automotive, is very similar as well. You see, all the Detroit people and the Tesla people were overseen now by Apple people that were not familiar with automotive at all. It turned out that iPhone skills are not that easily transferable to manufacturing vehicles. So that brought in another delay. In fact, everything was getting so bad that they moved through 5 to 7 people in charge. It all started within the hardware engineering department, which does the iPhone and other products, and then at one point it was under AI group, which makes sense if you're going after full self-driving. At one point, this whole project was being reported directly to Tim Cook, which to me, there's one thing that makes it extremely clear where priority of all of this is for Apple. And I'll go over that in just a moment. But first, now the project is located beneath operations group by COO Jeff Williams, and it is actually run now. The whole project for the Apple Car is now run by Kevin Lynch, who is in charge of the watch and the health ecosystem at Apple. And if there's a person at Apple who is capable of creating winning products lately, like for example the watch, that would be Kevin Lynch. And we have to talk about another disaster at Apple when trying to make the Apple Car. You see, we got to talk about Doug Field, who helped with Model 3 at Tesla. And we know what impact Model 3 had to Tesla stock. Tesla stock shot up, it skyrocketed. So Doug actually was a Mac and hardware VP at Apple before going to Tesla. So Apple brought back Doug Field, which would seem like a very good decision because Doug already worked at Apple before and now he worked at Tesla, and Tesla obviously was having massive success with Model 3, so this seemed like a clearly right thing to do. And things seemed good for about a year or a year and a half, but then everything seemed mostly fine. They were talking to suppliers and manufacturers, but then things started going bad. Deadlines missed, optimism crushed, and this happened about 2 years ago. And the management under Doug, compared to the management that is now under Kevin Lynch, is 90 to 95% different. So basically, no one stayed, no one left because all the optimism was crushed and everything was just rearranged. It was a complete mess. And now seemingly Kevin Lynch is bringing some stability, at least for now, it appears. One reason why Apple wants to build a car is that Apple wants to have a product in every category, because if you go to your car and you don't have Apple CarPlay, and if you drive an hour a day, that's 1 hour where you're not using Apple products. And if ever Tesla makes a phone, let's say, it would just easily integrate with the car, and that could potentially take away market share away from Apple. So Apple wants to have products in many different categories so that they can lock you in their ecosystem, and there is a great convenience to being in the Apple ecosystem. But here's the question: does Apple really want to build a car? Do they really want to build a car? They've been working on it since 2014, basically. Do they actually want to build a car? I start to question it a little bit. Number one, the project is not being reported directly to Tim Cook. If it was a number one priority, clearly it would be reported directly to the CEO. Like, for example, at Tesla, everything with full self-driving is directly reported to Elon Musk. Elon Musk personally is leading that project because that's how important it is. And every major development is usually led by Elon Musk. At least all the developments are crucial to the company. Now, one reason why Apple might not be that serious about Apple Car is because, think about this, just now recently, Tesla had this lawsuit against someone who crashed the car. It was basically a teenage boy who was driving the car speeding, and the judge awarded that family $10 million because Tesla was 1% at fault for the whole crash. It's a very unusual situation, and imagine if that happens to Apple. Apple is known as this supposedly good company, but now if you have all those stories in the news, Apple Car gets recalled, Apple Car kills people, Apple Car is not safe, Apple Car gets recalled again, Apple Car on fire. Imagine if you see those headlines. What will that do to the brand? Will that impact sales of their other products? I think it easily could. Remember the time when the Galaxy Note was exploding, basically? The batteries were on fire? That was very bad. And I was actually considering at that time to buy a Note. And guess what? Since then, I have not touched the Note. Not because there's anything wrong with the new Note. It's just, there's just this bad feeling. And I had a Note before. So to me, it just appears that Apple is not really prioritizing the Apple Car at this moment. However, that definitely does not mean that Apple will never make a car. I think eventually they should, and eventually I think they will. And if they get it right, is a possibility to make trillions for Apple. But should we Tesla stock investors be concerned about it. I'm basically an all-in Tesla stock investor. The only stock that I own in my stock portfolio is Tesla. I'm diversified in my other holdings, for example, real estate and private businesses and income, but Tesla stock is the only stock I own in my stock portfolio. Before I started doing a lot of research about the Apple car, that was one thing that was really on my mind. As a Tesla stock investor, I'm not worried about Toyota, I'm not worried about Volkswagen, I'm not worried about Honda, I'm not worried about Ford or GM. They are just not really good at software, and the pace of innovation is really just not there. But when it comes to companies like Apple, who have a history of bringing some major innovation, this starts to look like a different story from the outside. But when you really dig deeper into this, and the project is not even reported directly to the CEO, that tells you how important the Apple car is to Apple. And I would say maybe not that much. I mean, when you really think about it, Tesla made Model S in 2008. Apple has been working on the Apple car for, what, 8 years now? Something like that? And where's their car? Tesla didn't take 8 years to make their first car. What is going on? The simplest explanation is that Apple simply does not care enough about this project. Now, this could very easily change overnight. If it does, should we then, Tesla stock investors, be concerned? Well, here's my take on it. I think Apple, if they really want, they definitely could make a very compelling electric vehicle. And of course, I believe it would be the best looking. And I think there would certainly be demand for Apple car vehicles. I mean, if you thought that having an iPhone is a status symbol, wait till Apple car is out there. Apple is so good at marketing, and Tesla basically spends zero time on marketing. Now, the main reason why I believe Tesla stock will at least 10x from where it is today by 2030 is because of full self-driving. Now, the difference with full self-driving is once you have a system working, I believe it's going to be exactly like a search engine. Other systems will exist, but how many search engines do you use? Probably just Google. And why is that? Why don't you use Yahoo? Why don't you use Bing? Why don't you use DuckDuckGo? Why don't you use all of those other engines? It's because most people would say the other ones are just not as good. You just want the best one. And with full self-driving, I believe people will want the safest option, and maybe even governments will eventually mandate that we have to use the safest system, because for every single death there's going to be a lawsuit. And if it's clear, if for example, if you're using the Apple full self-driving system versus Tesla's, and let's say Tesla's is safer, and any death resulting from Apple's system, that's going to be a lawsuit, because if it's clear it's not the best, if you use the Tesla system, maybe that death could have been completely avoided. Definitely not a guarantee, but something to seriously consider. And if you thought that looking at the news and seeing what feels like weekly or monthly about Tesla recalls, oh, you just wait till we have FSD and people start dying. Every single death will be major news. So if you have multiple systems, I think the public will want to use the safest one, because if we use the safest one, then we at least know, oh, okay, there's nothing that we could have done here. FSD is already safer than human driving, so it just doesn't make sense to sue the company because, look, it's already safer than human driving. But when we compare two systems and one is not safer, we know it's not safer, that becomes a whole different story. So I am not worried at all about Apple threatening Tesla stock in the future. However, I think they can make a compelling car, and if they get it just right, and perhaps if they get it into LiDAR, autonomous, full self-driving, which could be as safe as Tesla's FSD solution, but it would be geofenced, and it would be very expensive. If they get lucky, I think they could coexist with Tesla for a significant period of time, because for a long time, Tesla will not be able to fulfill all of the demand for their vehicles with full self-driving. They have been always production constrained, and just imagine what will happen when they actually have full self-driving. They will be even more production constrained because there will be so much demand. So during that time, I think Apple, there's a chance that Apple has to take some market share from the auto industry and then perhaps compete with Tesla directly for full self-driving, but I don't think they will win. I think Tesla will come out on top, but certainly Apple can still have a very nice electric vehicle. So should we Tesla stock investors worry about the Apple car? No, I really don't think so. At least not for now. Until Apple shows that they are actually serious about the Apple car, and until the project is directly reported to the CEO, Tim Cook, I think there's nothing to worry about at all. My name is Matt Posius. I'm a millionaire serial entrepreneur and investor. Thank you for watching. Watch the next video, why I only own Tesla stock. It's a good video. I also explain why it's actually a safe investment in my opinion, and I'll see you there. Or if you haven't seen that video, just browse over the channel. There's many videos on here already. And also, if you are new, watch the full self-driving videos that are on my channel that show how good Tesla's full self-driving system already is.